you ever stopped to think, really think, about the nature of time? That strange feeling of déjà vu, that nagging feeling that certain events, certain eras seem to repeat themselves with almost mathematical precision. What if I told you that this feeling could be more than a simple coincidence? What if time, as we know it, was stuck in a cycle, repeating itself endlessly from a pivotal point in our recent history? Get ready, because today we're going to dive into one of the most disturbing and fascinating theories out there, the idea that we are living in a time loop, a cycle that would have started in the year 2012. What's more, we'll investigate the possibility of a hidden cosmic code, a mathematical signature in the fabric of reality that could prove this terrifying hypothesis. What you're about to hear could forever change your perception of the universe and your own place in it. Hold on tight, because the journey will be long, dark, and full of questions that can haunt you for a long time. If you are new here and have the courage to explore the deepest and most disturbing mysteries of the cosmos, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss any of our investigations. And if this topic has already moved you, leave a like so that the algorithm understands that we need to uncover more secrets like this. Share with that friend who also loves a good cosmic conspiracy theory. Because what we're going to discuss today deserves to be debated. Why 2012? What happened that year that could have triggered a temporal repetition, or that at least made us question the linearity of events? Many remember the infamous Mayan prophecy, which predicted the end of a great cycle, and for some, the end of the world as we knew it. Although the apocalypse did not materialize in the way the most alarmists predicted, it is undeniable that 2012 was a year full of peculiar symbolism, a kind of cultural and perhaps cosmic inflection point. Let's break this down more carefully. The famous date of December 21st, 2012 was not for the ancient Mayans a prophecy of the apocalypse in the sense of total destruction. They had an incredibly sophisticated calendar system with multiple intertwined cycles. What ended in 2012 was a backturn, a period of 144,000 days, or approximately 394.26 solar years. It was the end of the 13th Baktun, a sacred number for them, marking the completion of a grand account of 5,125.36 years. For the Mayans, this meant the transition to a new era, a rebirth, and not necessarily the cataclysmic end that popular culture propagated. However, the very idea of such a significant calendar reset, coming from a civilization with such advanced astronomical knowledge, planted the seed of doubt. What if this transition was more than symbolic? What if somehow the very fabric of reality was programmed to recognize these great cycles? Astronomers, in turn, recorded events that, although scientifically explainable, added fuel to the fire of speculation. The transit of Venus on the 5th and 6th of June 2012 was one of these. Imagine the sun's disk and a small dark dot, the planet Venus sliding slowly across its face. These transits occur in pairs separated by 8 years, but the pairs themselves are separated by very long intervals of 100 and 5.5 years, or 121.5 years. The previous pair occurred in 1874 and 1882. The next pair will only happen in 2117 and 2125. Therefore, the event of 2012 was, for the majority of living humanity, a unique opportunity. Historically, these transits were crucial to astronomy, allowing scientists like Edmund Halley to accurately measure the astronomical unit for the first time, the distance from the Earth to the Sun. Was it just a coincidence that such a rare event, a true marker of our ability to measure the cosmos, occurred precisely in a year so loaded with symbolism? For some schools of thought, these planetary alignments are not mere celestial spectacles, but rather markers. Cogs in a cosmic clock much larger than we can understand, whose gears could hypothetically influence events on Earth or even the temporal structure itself. Another intensely debated point was the supposed alignment of the solstice of December 2012 with the center of our galaxy, the Milky Way. The galactic center, where the supermassive black hole star Sagittarius resides, is a region of immense gravitational force and energetic activity. The idea was that due to the phenomenon of precession of the equinoxes, a slow wobble of the Earth's axis that completes a cycle approximately every 26,000 years, the sun, seen from Earth during the winter solstice in the northern hemisphere, would be aligned with the central region of the galaxy. Although astronomers point out that this alignment is a process that occurs over decades rather than on a specific day, and that the center of the galaxy is a vast area, the image of a cosmic alignment of this magnitude has captured the popular imagination. Could such a configuration, even if gradual, have some unknown, perhaps subtle effect on our planet or our solar system, influencing the flow of time? Conventional science would say no, that the gravitational forces involved are negligible at our distance. But when we start looking at the anomalies, at the patterns that defy easy explanation, at the nagging feeling that something has changed, doubt settles in like a troublesome seed, growing in the fertile soil of uncertainty. Furthermore, there were those who pointed to an increase in reports of unidentified aerial phenomena, UFOs, in certain regions of the globe during that period. Extreme weather phenomena such as more intense hurricanes, prolonged droughts, and devastating floods also appeared to intensify, fueling the narrative that we were entering an era of instability and transformation. Of course, correlation does not imply causation, and many of these events can be explained by natural cycles or increasing human influence on climate. But for those looking for signs, for those who feel that reality is not as solid as it seems, 2012 remains like a beacon, a possible breaking point. Were they just coincidences? The result of collective suggestion fueled by ancient prophecies and the anxiety of a new millennium? Or did something fundamental really change in the structure of our reality that year? Something so subtle that most of us didn't even notice, but that put us on a temporal conveyor belt condemned to repeat a part of history until some unknown condition is met. The nature of time itself is one of the greatest mysteries in physics. Isaac Newton saw it as an arrow flying inexorably from the past to the future in a linear and absolute way. But Albert Einstein's theory of relativity shattered this simplistic view, showing that time is relative, malleable, capable of expanding and contracting depending on gravity and speed. Think of time as a river. Newton saw it as a river that always flows at the same speed, in a straight line for all observers. Einstein, however, showed that this river can have rapids and backwaters. Close to a very massive object, such as a black hole, the river of time flows much more slowly for a distant observer. If you could spend some time near a black hole and then return to Earth, you would find out much more time has passed on Earth than it has for you. Your friends would be older, the story would have progressed, while you would have aged just a little. This is not science fiction. It is a direct consequence of the general theory of relativity, proven by experiments with very high precision atomic clocks. The GPS we use every day needs to take these relativistic effects into account to work properly, as satellites in orbit experience time slightly differently than we do on Earth's surface. If time can be stretched and shrunk in this way, who is to say that it cannot, under certain extreme and as yet unknown conditions, be folded in on itself, creating a closed cycle, a kind of whirlpool in the river of time? Some theoretical physicists, such as the brilliant and eccentric mathematician Kurt Gödel, a close colleague of Einstein at Princeton's Institute for Advanced Study, took this idea seriously. In 1949, Gödel found solutions to Einstein's general relativity equations that described a rotating universe. And in this Gödel's universe, mathematics allowed the existence of what we call closed time curves. These curves would be passed through space-time that would allow an object or person to return to their own past. Imagine tracing a route through the universe that in the end would take you back to your starting point, not only in space but also in time. Although there is no experimental evidence that our real universe is like Gödel's model, in fact, astronomical observations indicate that the universe is now rotating in the way his model would require. Mathematics does not completely prohibit them in other theoretical scenarios. The simple logical possibility, however remote, that the structure of time could allow such loops is enough to send chills down your spine. What if our universe, or at least our region of space-time, had entered one of these anomalous configurations, perhaps triggered by some cosmic event of unimaginable proportions or by some as yet undiscovered property of fundamental physics? There are cosmological theories that contemplate cyclical universes. The Big Bounce theory, for example, suggests that the Big Bang was not the absolute beginning, but rather the result of the collapse of a previous universe. In this model, the universe goes through infinite cycles of expansion, Big Bang, and contraction, Big Crunch, like a cosmic phoenix that is reborn from its own ashes. Each cycle could have slightly different physical constants, resulting in universes with different properties. Although the Big Bounce is one of several alternatives to the standard Big Bang model, which posits a singular beginning, it forces us to confront the idea that beginning and end may be relative concepts on a cosmic scale. Another intriguing theory is conformal cyclic cosmology, proposed by renowned physicist Gödel and Penrose. In this model, the universe expands indefinitely until all matter degrades and only radiation remains. In this distant future state, where mass effectively disappears, the universe loses its sense of a scale of time and space. This distant future becomes mathematically equivalent to a new Big Bang, starting a new eon or cosmic cycle. Penrose even suggests that we could find evidence of previous eons imprinted in the cosmic microwave background, so-called Hawking points. If the entire universe can operate in such vast cycles, why not smaller portions of time, or even our own experience of reality, could be subject to smaller cyclical patterns, like echoes or harmonics of this great cosmic symphony? The idea of an eternal return, popularized by philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche in the 19th century, also echoes this notion of infinite repetition, albeit from a more philosophical and existential perspective. Nietzsche imagined the demon who would whisper to us that this life as we live it now, and as we live it, we will have to live it yet again, and yet countless times. And there will be nothing new in it, but every pain and every pleasure and every thought and sigh and everything unspeakably small and great in our lives will have to return to us, and all in the same order and sequence. It is a perspective that can be deeply disturbing, as it would annihilate the concept of free will and turn us into mere actors repeating a predetermined script, trapped in an existential hamster wheel. Imagine the anguish of knowing that every mistake made, every bad word said, every opportunity lost, every suffering inflicted or received is doomed to be repeated time after time, with no escape, no learning, no redemption. Could this be the nature of the hell described in so many cultures? An endless repetition of our own failures and pain, a mirror that eternally reflects our imperfections? Or for the more optimistic, would it be a chance with each cycle to love moments of joy more deeply, knowing their fleeting and recurring nature? But what about this cosmic code? Where does he fit into this plot? The idea here is that if time is repeating itself, or if the universe operates under cyclical principles, there should be patterns, mathematical signatures that betray this structure. We are not just talking about random coincidences, but about a possible fundamental language of the universe. Think of the Fibonacci sequence 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, and so on, where each number is the sum of the previous two. This sequence, and a golden ratio to which it approximates approximately 1.618, appears in countless natural formations, from the arrangement of the petals of a flower, the seeds in a sunflower, the spirals of a nautilus shell to the spirals of a galaxy. Is this simply a consequence of efficient growth and packaging processes, or a hint of an underlying mathematical design? Think about the universal constants of physics, the speed of light in a vacuum c, the gravitational constant g, Planck's constant h, the elementary charge a. They are precise numbers measured with incredible accuracy that govern the laws of nature as we know them. If any of these constants were even slightly different, the universe would be a drastically different place, perhaps incapable of supporting life. Why do these numbers have the values they do? Are they arbitrary or part of a deeper code? What if there were an even more fundamental numerical pattern, a master code that dictated not just physical laws, but also the flow of events, the rise and fall of civilizations, the cycles of war and peace, of prosperity and collapse? Some independent researchers and alternative theorists, often on the fringes of mainstream science, claim to have found evidence of such patterns. They delve into historical chronologies, analyze economic cycles like Kondratiev waves, study the frequency of astronomical events like solar flares or comet passages, and even examine ancient texts and sacred scriptures looking for numerical correlations, hidden cycles, and synchronicities that suggest an underlying order, a kind of cosmic programming. They point to the repetition of certain numbers or numerical sequences, numerology, gematria on dates of important events, or the occurrence of natural disasters, scientific discoveries, or major social changes at intervals that seem strangely regular or interconnected. Is the year 2012, with its Mayan symbolism and astronomical events, one of these numerical markers, a reset point, or a significant node in the great cosmic program? The difficulty, of course, lies in distinguishing real patterns from apophenia, the human tendency to see meaningful patterns in random data. Our brain is a pattern finder machine. It's a matter of survival. But what if in some cases the patterns are actually real and point to something much bigger? Physicist Max Tegmark proposed the mathematical universe hypothesis, the radical idea that our physical reality is not just described by mathematics, but that it is a mathematical structure. If this is true, then the existence of a cosmic code would not just be a metaphor, but a literal description of the fundamental nature of all that exists. The search for this code is, in essence, a search for meaning in a universe that often seems chaotic and indifferent. If there is a code, is there a programmer? And what would be the purpose of this program? Was it a test? A simulation? Or simply the way reality is structured, a gigantic and complex gear whose mechanisms we are only beginning to glimpse? The idea of a cosmic code leads us directly to the concept of a simulated reality, a hypothesis that has gained surprising traction even in serious scientific circles. If our universe is a simulation, then the repetition of cycles or loops could be an intentional feature of the program, perhaps to optimize resources, to study different variables, or for reasons that are completely beyond our ability to understand. Living in a loop within a simulation would be a prison within a prison, a doubly frightening prospect. The implications of living in a time that has been repeated since 2012 are profound and disturbing. If our every action has been performed countless times before and will be performed countless times in the future, what does that mean for our individuality, for our sense of purpose? Do our choices still matter? Or are we just puppets dancing to a cosmic song that never changes? The feeling of déjà vu would take on a completely new and sinister meaning. It would not just be a momentary glitch in memory, but a real glimpse of an event that we have already experienced, perhaps countless times. Those recurring dreams, those situations that seem strangely familiar, could be echoes of previous cycles, fragments of past lives trapped in the same time loop. The existential fear this evokes is palpable, a vertigo facing the abyss of futility. The idea that there's no real progress, only futile repetition, can lead to nihilistic despair, a sense of cosmic entrapment on an unimaginable scale. Imagine humanity struggling, evolving, creating sublime art, developing complex science, suffering excruciating losses, and experiencing transcendent love, only for everything to reset, like a game returning to the first stage after an invisible game over, with no memory of the previous game being retained by the majority. The great tragedies of history, world wars, the Holocaust, devastating pandemics, famines, social injustices, would we be condemned to reliving them ad infinitum without the possibility of collectively learning from the mistakes of one cycle to avoid pain in the next? Could this be the true nature of our existence? A cosmic wheel of samsara, a cycle of suffering and rebirth from which there is no apparent escape unless one finds enlightenment or a key to transcend the cycle. Is the very concept of evolution, both biological and social, an illusion within the loop? Or does each repetition allow for small variations, small deviations that, over countless iterations, could lead to a different result or an eventual break in the pattern? What if someone or something was aware of this loop? What if there were individuals or entities capable of perceiving or even manipulating these cycles? This would open up a range of even darker possibilities. Are we being observed, studied, or even controlled by beings who understand the true mechanics of time? Conspiracy theories, which already flourish in abundance in our age of information and disinformation, would gain a terrifying cosmic foundation. Are those shadowy figures who supposedly control the world from behind the scenes the Illuminati, the reptilians, or any other secret elite mere paranoid fantasies? Or could they be conscious agents of this cycle, perhaps working to maintain it or to exploit it for their own benefit? The so-called time travelers who appear sporadically on the internet with their predictions and warnings, often discredited as frauds or delusions, could they really be escapees from the loop individuals who have somehow retained memories of previous cycles, or who have found a breach in the walls of time? Or are they guardians of the cycle, planting disinformation to keep us docile and unaware of our temporal prison? Or even more disturbing, are they echoes of the loop itself, psychic manifestations of temporal tension, the search to break the cycle? If it truly exists, and if humanity becomes aware of it, would become the greatest and most desperate endeavor of our species. But how do you break a cycle whose existence we can barely prove with current scientific methods? How do you fight an enemy as fundamental and omnipresent as time itself, especially if that time is programmed to self-correct, to eliminate anomalies that threaten the continuity of the loop? Or, in an even more disturbing reflection, could human nature itself, with its seemingly endless cycles of conflict and cooperation, destruction and reconstruction, hate and love, not itself be an intrinsic manifestation of this loop? Are we collectively and unconsciously the very perpetuators of this cosmic cycle, trapped in our own behavioral patterns that echo on a larger scale? The evidence for such a radical theory is understandably scant and highly interpretive. Mainstream science still operates under the paradigm of linear time, and any deviation is viewed with extreme skepticism. However, the history of science is full of ideas that were once considered heretical and are now accepted as facts. The relativity of time itself, proposed by Einstein at the beginning of the 20th century, was received with great skepticism and misunderstanding by many. But today it is a pillar of modern physics. Quantum theory, with its bizarre notions of superposition and entanglement, challenged common sense even more radically. But its predictions were confirmed experimentally with astonishing precision, leading to the technologies we use every day. What we need is to keep an open mind, but also critical rigor and a scientific method. Observe patterns, carefully formulate testable hypotheses, even if indirectly look for persistent anomalies in the data, and not be afraid to explore the frontiers of knowledge, even if they take us to uncomfortable, frightening places and challenge our most ingrained conceptions about reality. The possibility of a time loop beginning in 2012, governed by a cosmic code, remains firmly in the realm of speculation, an unsettling shadow on the periphery of our scientific understanding. But it is a speculation that, like a good cosmic horror tale, forces us to confront the most fundamental questions about reality, consciousness, the meaning of our existence, and our destiny in a vast and mysterious theater of the universe. Perhaps the very quest to understand these mysteries is an intrinsic part of the program, a way for universal consciousness to explore itself through us. What do you think? Are we trapped in a cosmic repeat, doomed to relive the same years, the same events, the same hopes and despair since 2012? Is there a hidden code in the stars, in the numbers, in the very structure of our existence that dictates this endless cycle? The questions are many, and the answers, if they exist at all, are shrouded in a veil of mystery that challenges our sanity. We may never know the truth. Or maybe, just maybe, someone has already found a key, a clue, a way to understand the seams of this cyclical reality. What if this person was trying to warn us? If this deep investigation into the nature of time and the possibility that we are living in a loop has left you with more questions than answers, and if you feel that there's much more to be uncovered in the far reaches of the universe and consciousness itself, then you're in the right place. Don't forget to leave a like. If this journey has shaken your doubts, subscribe so you don't miss the next dives into unfathomable mysteries, and share this video with all those who dare to question reality. Your interaction is essential for us to continue bringing content that challenges the status quo. And stay tuned, because our next investigation promises to be as chilling or even more chilling as this one. There are cosmic secrets waiting to be revealed, and one of them may be closer than we imagine, lurking in the shadows of our own solar system. The video will soon appear on your screen. Thank you very much for embarking with us on this speculative, and let's face it, somewhat scary journey. Remember, the universe is vast, and its mysteries are even greater. Stay curious, keep questioning, and never stop looking at the stars with a mix of wonder and a healthy dose of apprehension. Until the next exploration.